Go Melody, Falter Wishtalk, the Radio Maria era, and a wave to everybody on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to our Chatechesis this Saturday morning, 24th of September. And Roisin, we're back.
Oh yes, wonderful, thank God.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, all right, Father.
Yes.
I can walk a wee bit better now.
Good, great. You're on your pins and finding your feet again.
Yeah, absolutely, great.
Sure, great. And all the pain has diminished.
Well, and diminished definitely. Not all gone, but nearly gone.
Nearly gone, great. Well, it's marvellous what they can do because you've a new knee and a new hip on that side. Yeah.
I need a new mind now.
A new brain and a new few other things would be fierce handy if you could head down to the brain shop and buy one. It would be good. Pick it out for size. Isn't there a story told about the cross that we carry? You know, the story about somebody who was fed up with the cross they had. They were and they kind of went back to the cross shop. The Lord brought them back and said, "Look, there's a room full of crosses, and you go in and
pick one.
Pick one." So look, off you go. Take your pick. And there was all kinds of heavy ones and lighter ones and lumpy ones, and whatever way the chap was kind of trying, he says, that one doesn't feel, that's really uncomfortable. I know I couldn't. It was lighter, but it was just and so he put that one back, and then I couldn't take this one, this weighs a ton. No, I could carry that one. And kept going around, just couldn't find the right cross, and in the end kind of took one and says, that kind of works, that kind of fits. And then he stopped and he says, well, that's the cross I already had, you know. So
that's true, Father. That's true. The Lord gives you the strength. He definitely does.
So maybe with your knee and your hip now that you'll have to carry it a little bit.
Yeah, well, he does do great miracles, Father. I don't know, I was going down to Curry Hills there last week and I got lost. Got in the
I think you were getting lost. And
I stopped just at this few houses, and there was a man coming out in a car, and I said, excuse me, I said, could you tell me how to get to Curry Hills? Oh, he says, I'm going somewhere else, but I'll bring you there now. And he turned around and he drove me for about half an hour.
Half an hour?
Yeah, to where we were going.
Wow, that's very
so
nice.
I thought it was a total miracle, Father.
Wow. And how did you get that lost? You must have
I was
a wrong turn.
Going to Nace and all in the wrong direction. But anyway, Father, you know me, not that brilliant. I thought it was a total miracle.
Really? That was very kind of him.
Wasn't it? And we stopped outside where we were going, and I said, I think this is it here now. He says, I said, it is actually, yes.
Okay, very good. Well, a shout out to the man from
he was
Curry
so
Hills.
Thankful. Thank you so much. I told them all down in the Curry Hills, like the Focolare movement, you know, what had happened. They thought that was an absolute miracle.
You were sent an angel. How's that?
He was.
Yeah,
he was indeed, and so kind, you know.
Good, fantastic. Thanks for the go. Isn't that great? And it just kind of proves if you ask, you shall receive as well.
Yeah.
You know? Well,
True.
You know sat-nav or any of that stuff going on your phone?
I had it on the phone, you know, the directions, and I was following them, and I said I got totally lost.
Okay.
So nice, you know.
Easy enough time, I suppose, when you're going a bit of a distance. Yeah.
So, because I hadn't been down there for over 2 years, so because I used to be able to go, I knew the directions, but then.
Oh yes, since COVID
certain
and everything.
Age, you know, you forget.
Well, that can happen too. There's readings of Mass are a bit about that this morning. That's right. The mind starts to grow a bit dim. And I suppose it's been a couple of years since you've been together properly anyway.
Yes, and that was the first time. It was absolutely wonderful. And as I was telling you, Father Bishop Brendan from Limerick was there. It was wonderful, you know.
He's a big fan of the Focolare movement. Yes, Chiara Lubick was the foundress.
That's right, she was,
Yeah. I think our cause is up for canonisation.
It is indeed, yes. And it was wonderful. And the amount of people, Father, from all over Ireland that was there.
Good.
It was great.
And was it like a weekend event or?
No, it was just a day. Like it was started at Mass at 10, and then it went on until 3:30.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
very good.
There are different things for children and all to do. You know, it was lovely. It's a beautiful house now.
Is it?
Yeah, Curry Hills.
Yeah, okay. And is it a permanent residence?
Oh yes, it is.
Focolare?
Yes, because there's like lovely women there who are there working at it all the time.
Full time?
Yeah.
Oh right. Okay.
And then like they're spreading it all over the world. Like this is quite a lot.
And it's somewhat of a charismatic movement. Would
It
that
is
be a good
trying to
description,
unite all the Christians. Yes,
okay,
it is.
or ecumenical
absolutely,
too. Yes. Okay.
It is indeed. Yeah.
So it sounds like Cara Lubick, a bit like who's the other man, Brother Roger and Taizé.
Yeah.
You know, kind of gathering a community of people who are praying, but regardless of religious persuasion.
Yes, it was even said that at the Mass, like if anybody who wasn't a Catholic will come for the blessing. So they
good, yes, instead of Holy Communion.
Had the blessing,
yes,
So it was lovely now.
And any words of wisdom from Bishop Brendan?
Well, he did give a big long talk at it. No, me now. But it was wonderful. He was just great to have him back. You know, he's a great man, you know.
Yeah, good. Yeah, he's been involved in that for a long time.
Yes.
And the other professor, I suppose, Father Tom Norris.
Yes.
Is he there? I think he's very involved in it too.
No, I didn't see him there now, but he could have been, like, I mean, and Father Colin Rotary is involved in it too, and then our Father Fergus is also involved in it, like, you know, so it's quite a few priests.
Good.
I was saying to him actually after when he said Mass on Tuesday morning, I said, Father, I was down in Curry Hill and I didn't see. I was there, Ocean, he said. He's great for doing the gardens and doing everything, you know. There's great work there.
Yeah, good. Lovely. Well, great to get out and great to get lost and to get found again.
Yeah, absolutely. And they like, I mean, it's a lovely house, and you go down and have a tea afterwards, and then everything, you know, and the food and all is there, you know. It's really beautiful.
Fabulous.
You'll have to come down sometime, Father.
Indeed, it'd be nice, and do a little Radio Maria kind of visit, if you like, and maybe get a few coming to the microphone.
Oh, it'd be lovely. Yeah, they would love to. They'd love to. Yes, gorgeous girls that are doing it, you know.
It's a relatively new kind of movement, isn't it? Like Cara Lubick isn't that long dead, I think.
About 5 or 6 years, Father, now.
Yeah. So to be a matter of sort of decades in existence, maybe rather than centuries.
It is. Well, she started it all, you know, and she lived quite a bit, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Very good. Well, listen, if you're a fan of Focal text us in or email us in or get in touch with us and share maybe your own experience as well. We have all our contact details there, Roisin.
I have indeed. And well, if you'd like to write to us, it's Radio Maria Ireland, St Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22, or you can telephone 014123456. And then again, if you're outside of Ireland, it's +353 14123456. Or you can text or WhatsApp at 089 467 2000. And again, outside of Ireland, it's +353 89467 2000. And then you can email at info@radiomaria.ie.
There you are. You have it all in a nutshell. Well done. Thanks for that, Roisin. So do please get in touch. Drop a comment here as well on our social media if you want to as well. You'd be very welcome too. Now we're heading off to Knock tomorrow, the last call for flight 101 to Knock. There's still a few seats left on our bus if you want to give a call and book yourself on the bus. We're leaving from the Red Cow Lewis stop in the morning around 7:45, I think we're taking our leave. Hoping to get to Longford for in around 9:30 and stopping for a little bit of breakfast there and picking up a whole crew in Longford as well before heading on for Knock itself and joining with the Legion of Mary National Pilgrimage, which I think promises to be a big one because the centenary of the Legion this past year, they haven't really been able to celebrate it with gusto because of the restrictions. So it'll be a nice kind of regathering of the troops for the Legion in Knock. So always a very big day in Knock and a full day there as well. So looking forward to that visit. If you want to join us, again, do get in touch with us and we can book your place there on the bus. Leaving from the Red Cow Lewis, as I say.
Wonderful. It's going to be worldwide, Father, because EWTN are showing it on the Mass.
Fantastic.
And at the Mass, Our Lady of Knock.
Good. We'll all be on telly.
You will, Father.
You've got to look in. Actually, they have it on I think they only get it from the internet stream, like ourselves. We borrow it from the internet stream as well. And we have it it'll be on the radio with us here as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But you won't see us. And maybe just like
but on EWTN you can see it.
We'll all wave to the cameras as we're going by. So anyway, it should be a lovely occasion, and again there's still time if you want to join us. You'll be very welcome too. And indeed, if you're coming to Knock, come up and say hello. You'll see us all floating around. We'll have a few Radio Maria bibs on. I'm sure we'll arrange to get togged on and be seen. And Mary Hooton has arranged to get a little table with literature and things for the St. John's Centre.
Oh, wonderful.
That's where we normally have our little stand when people come to Knock. So they're very good to us there. So she'll be there today and tomorrow,
wonderful.
getting things set up. And if you want to pick up, rather than just a leaflet to the radio, but little bundle to give
and
a few
give them
away.
out to all your neighbours.
Take a half dozen and let other people know about Radio Maria. So leave them strategically here and there and give them to your friends. So we'll be doing a bit of Legion work, I suppose, on the Legion pilgrimage, evangelising. And we know so many wonderful members of the Legion are great allies and friends, and accompany us and support us and promote radio as well, the Radio Maria too. So we're in it together.
Wonderful.
So looking forward to that. Fantastic. We covered interesting conversations the last couple of days on our Chatechesis, and nice to get the feedback and responses as well. One the other day was the question of faith and science, and particularly the whole issue of evolution.
Wow.
And I got some nice little feedback from a few listeners there as well in relation to that. And even Shane, who was doing the editing of the audio file afterwards, that kind of got him going as well.
Oh, I'd say he's genius.
And he'd be very interested in that debate. And the point I was making was a scientific idea that helps faith, which is a notion that's described as irreducible complexity. Sounds like a mouthful. But something as simple as the human eye, and Vincent was in touch. Vincent has vision problems there, and he understands well having to go through eye care and so on, or whatever, to mind. So that like the different parts of the eye that actually make it work so that you can see the eyelid and the eyelashes, even the eyebrow, the cornea, the retina at the back, all the blood vessels, the vitreous humor, the aqueous humor, the lens, the iris. There's so many parts of the human eye, and the various things that can and do go wrong, like what do they call that when your eye clouds over? A cataract, isn't it?
Right.
That's a common enough problem. Macular degeneration is another one.
Yes.
Detached retina you hear of. There's a few other common sort of illnesses that they watch out for when you go to the opticians.
Yes.
And that the pressure of the liquids, when they I don't like that test when they blow some air into your eye to test the pressure within the eye. That if the fluid is like high blood pressure, low blood pressure, if the pressure is too high or too low, it can actually damage your vision as well. It's a fascinating study. But that if any of those, and this was the point, very simple, if any of those break down, if any of those fail to work, then you can't see.
Oh my
you can't
goodness.
see. So in other words, it's so complex to take out one part would be to destroy your vision.
Yes.
So in other words, this couldn't possibly evolve step by step. You couldn't just get an eyelid and then kind of build on an eyelash and then build on a corner. You'd have to
need a miracle, Father.
you'd have to have it all as a unit, kind of supplied and designed and created. And not to mention all the other mechanisms and biochemistry that goes on in allowing light and physics, I suppose. Light which comes in, it's an inverted image on the back of the retina, and then it goes to the brain, and the brain turns it back up again. All that stuff. It's a fascinating just science.
Oh, you're a genius, Father.
No, it's kind of like you learn at school about the human eye, and how a little speck or anything small, if your eyes dry up, it's very painful, and it's not. But that it has to come as a sort of a pre-designed element. It cannot just grow out of nothing. You just can't. In other words, then the final conclusion is very simple: that God had to have designed this. It couldn't be somebody, a higher intelligence had to design this.
Yeah.
So it just generates some interesting feedback and conversation.
Father, yes.
Because I was speaking with a friend of mine going back years and years now, just got in touch with me from England, and he gives talks on these kind of things. He's doing a book, and I'm hoping he'll come on the radio with us here and give his little presentation on all the things that point to the fact that the theory of evolution is a very poor theory. It doesn't hold together well. Because of all the discoveries we've been making. The more we discover, and this is where I was going with Shane's conversation as well, like the more you find out about the incredible complexity of life,
the human life, and
everything goes with it, the more you have to say, well, wow, like God has to be.
Oh, he did. He made us well.
It's almost as if you're being pushed to the very edge of faith, and you just all that's left for you to do is jump. It's just so staringly obvious that there has to be an intelligent creator behind all this.
Yeah.
So a fascinating
That's fantastic, Father.
So a nice one, and a conversation worth continuing and pursuing a little further as well, with a better expertise, because mine is a pretty kind of...
Well, I thought that was very good, Father, now.
Pretty low-key attempt at it. Shane's argument was based on mathematics, and I had mentioned that idea as well. Just the fascination of the way numeracy kind of works. It's just extraordinary when you get sort of deep into the study of mathematics, and that things I was suggesting, like music, is very mathematical, and there's a kind of mathematical design almost behind everything, that you can break it down almost to formulae that had to have been, again, designed by a higher mathematician, somebody with incredible intelligence.
They give us all the brains, Father. Jesus made us, Father, so...
Well, when it comes to churching, it's better to keep it nice and simple.
Yeah.
God made us. He wants us to be happy. Don't worry about the rest. He's in control.
And he gives some people great geniuses in one things, and people with geniuses in other things.
Correct, yeah. But we complement each other with all various gifts and talents as well. So we had a second conversation then yesterday, and that generated some nice, interesting feedback too as well. And maybe you have experienced this yourself, where you've had either Jehovah's or Mormons or such coming to your front door.
Yeah, I heard that one, Father. Yes.
Has that happened to you, or have you?
No, but I got a leaflet put through the door the other day.
Okay, tell us more.
Yes, it was just if I wanted to join the Mormons or join them,
All right. And what's the invitation? Have they a place where you can come and see?
It was just a little leaflet, Father, and I looked at it and I didn't read it, of course, and then I put it in my handbag to bring it down here, and then I don't know where it went to. I'll have to have a look for it yet. But I've never seen that before.
Yeah, interesting. I did get a couple of letters.
It was actually the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, probably. I did get a couple of letters during the pandemic times.
Yeah.
They weren't sitting on their hands, fair play to them. They couldn't go out knocking on doors.
Yes.
So they were actually handwriting letters to people to invite them to come and learn more and come and get involved.
Yeah.
And like, if nothing else, you have to admire their tenacity and their zeal for wanting to convert people. And it's often struck me, if we could only have half that zeal.
Push. We do have, Father.
We do, but maybe we should be a bit more.
Well, because we remember, in latter years, Father, Christianity was very ripe in Ireland, and everybody knew it, and that was it, so we weren't really under any pressure.
Interesting, perhaps not, and yet Frank Duff, who lived through all those times of the last
hard
century,
time, at that time there was, Father,
he would have said, well, look, you have a lot of people coming to the altar, let's say, or a lot of people going to the churches were full maybe back in the last century, 100 years ago. But he would say how much of that is or what depth, let's say, is that reaching in terms of their conviction to pass that faith on.
Yeah.
And his argument was, that it only takes a couple of generations for the faith to be lost.
Yeah, that's true too,
and
Father.
we can see it happening around us, it takes a generation or two, and how quickly it can fade,
Yeah.
So in which case then it reflects back on us who have the conviction of our faith that we do need to be in some way
spread the word,
apostolic, some way kind of passing it on or spreading it. And should we have the courage to do so, maybe even to the point of going out knocking on doors, which is what the Legion of Mary does.
The Legion does,
specialises in that, but with a very different approach, and it's worth kind of qualifying the difference between the two, because now I think the Jehovah's Witnesses and the like have learned to tone it down a little bit and not be as kind of foot in the door with it. But the Legion has always been very upfront that when, as part of the approach would be, you introduce yourself by name immediately, if somebody answers the door. You give the very purpose for your visiting and by what authority, So, hi, my name is Eamonn. I'm visiting here with Mary, and it's lovely to see you this evening. We're visiting on behalf of the Catholic Church. Your parish priest, Father Murphy, or whatever, has kindly granted us permission, and we're just calling around the doors to give a friendly hello, that we're here, and we love to welcome people
I'm
to
sure
the faith.
people would be delighted to hear that too, Father.
And you see, this is the thing, that it's the manner of the approach and the way in which you sort of answer the door and greet people can do an awful lot to initiate a conversation.
Of course it can, yes.
Whereas if you're coming to a door and you're preaching at people straight away,
no.
and so when they come to my door, I'm always anxious to say, well, what's your name? And where are you from? And tell me a bit about yourself here. You're on my doorstep now, so kindly,
Brilliant,
you're taking my time. So, so the Legion kind of does that ahead of times, and it are sort of the beginning of the conversation, let's say.
Yes.
And I love Frank Duff's idea that we always try to go as an inferior to a superior.
All right.
The kind of the cap in hand sort of idea. So in other words, I'm not here to tell you how you should live your life, and you should believe in God, or are you keeping the commandments, or kind of dictating. That would be completely wrong. Instead, it's very invitational.
Absolutely. That's what Jesus did with Father. He invited everybody quietly, and he didn't running down the hammer saying you have to do this, that, and the other.
Except to those who should have known better. They got a bit of hard treatment, all right. But it's always a gentle invitation, and like, I've come for the sick. It's not the healthy, only the doctor, but the sick, the sinners. Which is why he sat and he ate with them and he spent time with them. So the Legion of Mary approach is very similar, and I like the accountability, the way you come to the meeting each week. You relate back the work you were doing, and the whole group kind of participates in that conversation, and you're kind of formed and directed as you're going along by doing the work and by the reporting system. And it's all sort of surrounded by prayer and the direction of the spiritual director and so on. So it's a very interesting model, a very interesting way of working, little cell groups. And I was commenting on Rosary Stories the other night with Father Marius. I was chatting about Father Aidan McGrath and his work in China, and how the Chinese people took to the format of the Legion of Mary so easily. Wonderful. In its kind of familial type of setting, brother and sister, and accompany each other in faith, and that it fitted very well into their culture. And I suppose any culture, because the Legion of Mary is in every country in the world, every diocese in the world at this stage.
Great.
Even in Kazakhstan, where the Pope was recently, the Legion of Mary is there too. But again, the same model of just a very gentle approach, and always in pairs, because that's what the Lord did, I suppose, sending people out in pairs. But being in pairs helps to safeguard against any indiscretions, or you have a little backup to give you a bit of courage as well. And while one person is doing the speaking, the other person is encouraged to pray that grace will flow, and that there will be a bit of transformation take place, and as legionaries, again, it's a very simple, like, we're not carrying the Bible under our arm and opening up to quote from it at you, which is what Mark, who texted in, said, that was his experience. They were kind of throwing Bible verses around, and it becomes a bit of Bible ping pong then, and that can be very unproductive, because you're only trying to champion one another and out Bible verse each other. And that can be just an argument. And Frank Duff's lovely point was, win an argument, but lose a soul. Yeah, it's not the way to do it. You've got to kind of come from underneath, kind of thing, or sort of come again. And another lovely direction that he would give in terms of the home-to-home visitation was to allow the other person to sort of dominate the conversation in the sense of, allow them to speak far more than you're willing to speak. And the idea was to earn the right to speak by listening.
Yes. So and then they'd be inquiring and asking questions and all sorts.
Sure.
And it would be great help to them then, to give them, some courage.
And giving the impression that, like, again, it's not me so much telling you what to do. I'm here to see where you are on your journey and to accompany you on another little step or two.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And invariably, I'd find we'd introduce the miraculous medal. We'd always have some little religious thing to hand over, and as a priest I could kind of bless it there and put a knot on it and say, look, love you to wear this now as our gift to you, and the prayer, O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to thee. And you'd have a small little window for a prayer moment there if this was something new to them. And that was, generally speaking, very well received too. And it's interesting how the conversation would take a turn towards the direction of faith once the medal was introduced. Very interesting. It had its own little miraculous effect, you know.
Beautiful.
So very, very different from the Jehovah's or from these other new religious movements who are inclined to be a little bit, you know, again, not coming as an inferior to a superior, but coming to tell you what you need to hear.
Their own designs and things rather than God's designs and things, you know.
So interesting. So again, listen, if you have any reaction to those questions and those issues, or if you had an experience that you might like to share with us in that area, sure, why not just get in touch with us, just let us know. And the numbers again there, Roisin.
Oh, you can text or WhatsApp at 089 467 2000. And then again, outside of Ireland, it's +353 894 67 2000. And then again, if you'd like to set the telephone, it's 014 12 3456. And then it's email at info@radiomaria.ie.
Perfect, yeah. Thomas and Catherine are downstairs.
Oh, they are, yes. Plenty of people there to talk to.
If you want to book your place on the bus to Knock, or
yes, please do come to Knock. It'd be fantastic.
Indeed, and you'll meet us there. So you'll meet us on the bus too. Or again, if you want to just respond to any of our conversation here, 014 123 456. Now we have Totus Tuus lined up from Dan. I thought appropriate. Seeing as we're going to Knock, and the Legion of Mary pilgrimage, all yours. So thanks, Thomas.
As I stand on the ground where you stood, and I walk in your footsteps, I imagine the way that you felt and the thoughts you were thinking. Could you see my face in the crowd, and that I loved you? Totus tuus, totally yours. Totus tuus, totally yours. The rock and the lamb, the Lord and the man. Totus tuus, totally yours. You told us that people must be free, every heart must be open. You said that justice is the key, but it takes our love to turn it. You said that you believed in me. You said you loved me. Totus tuus, totally yours. Totus tuus, totally yours. The rock and the lamb, the Lord and the man. Totus tuus.
Very good. Totus to us there
Beautiful.
with Dan. It's a lovely piece of music indeed. And thanks for being with us this morning for our Chatechesis on Radio Maria. The Pope's visit to Kazakhstan was quite a very interesting occasion. Mindful of it in connection with the Legion of Mary too, because there was an envoy, like Edel Queen was an envoy. She went to Africa. There was an envoy of the Legion of Mary that went not that long ago. This was 20 years ago now-ish, give or take. Bernard Dinardo is his name, a man from Argentina who was a lawyer, and he gave up several years of his life to become an envoy, and he went to Kazakhstan representing the Legion, to Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, which are two countries you might neither have heard of.
Yeah, exactly.
They're three nations kind of tucked together near Mongolia, sort of north of China and the south of Russia, and largely Muslim, or maybe even Russian Orthodox, or Buddhist maybe even as well. But there's only 1% of the population of Kazakhstan is Catholic. 1%. So you might say to yourself, well, what is the Pope doing? Would he not kind of go to somewhere where there's a few more?
Oh no,
there?
he's spreading the word, Father.
But very strategic, because again, in the light of the war and so on, and just building connections and affirming really his desire to even communicate and be a third party in all the various negotiations to try to bring about peace.
Be wonderful, yes.
And this is proof that he's, out there willing to, put his neck out a little bit. So it says 70% Muslim, 25% Christian, primarily Russian Orthodox, and a small number of Catholics. Extraordinary. But Bernardo the same, like he went to help just get the Legion going with the view to getting them more apostolic and trying to reach out and bring a few invite others into the faith as well. So he said the Pope just noted that the Catholics, the numerical scarcity invites the development of relationships with Christians of other denominations, and also fraternity with all religions. So he comes under criticism, all the popes have, Pope John Paul II too, for this dialogue with Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims and so on, and somehow, as it were, I don't know, bringing all these religions together as if they're all in an equal setting. But people get wrong notions and wrong ideas. I mean, you have to kind of talk to your neighbour if you want to get on with them. You have to try to understand them so that they can begin to understand you. And that ecumenism is all about that. You kind of come together, you share what you have that's in common without denying what you believe in, or without, compromising it maybe. But you have to start somewhere with that conversation, which is the same idea with visiting house to house and going as an inferior to a superior. Not necessarily coming to tell people. Sure, you have the fullness of the faith in Christ, but you're not coming with a baseball bat or a hammer or a hurley to drive it into people. You're saying, look, here, come on in.
Yeah.
Like I heard that word being changed to eucumenism. So you come in. It was actually a northern eucumenism. I had a kind of a nicer twang with a northern accent, so that you're welcome to come on in and share the fullness of the faith that we enjoy. So the Pope there, he says, look, a small flock, yes, but open, not closed, not defensive, open and trusting in the action of the Holy Spirit, who blows freely where and how he wills. And this would be our understanding of other religions, other world religions and other denominations, that the Spirit is somehow moving there. They have an element of truth, but the fullness of truth subsists in the church that Christ himself founded, and all truth, if you like, flows from that anyway. So the conversation then needs to kind of steer around these things and say, okay, where will we find the fullness of truth? What is it that... And so when we meet people on their doorsteps, that's ultimately where the conversation is trying to head, I suppose.
It's a good thing too, Father, because God will have people who haven't any notion and don't understand. So it's nice to be able to be told and informed.
Correct. And the other lovely thing, when you go to visit somebody's door, you're sharing your own faith journey a little bit.
Yes,
And-
absolutely.
Yeah, and everybody likes to hear a story. And how did you come to where? How is it that you have this faith that you're willing to come to my front door? What is
Yeah,
possessing
yeah,
you to
yeah.
do that? But just by the way you speak with somebody, you can.
Oh, definitely it does, Father,
Sure.
yes. And people love to know about God, you know,
They
and to
do,
learn
they
about
do.
Jesus and about how much He loves them.
Even if they think they don't,
Yes.
they want to know there's a reason and a purpose and a meaning behind life. There's a point and a direction to where I'm going, what I'm doing, and that there's some kind of heavenly justice as well as heavenly mercy that we all know we need. And that again, Christ comes to share that with us and teach us. This is why He became flesh, to come among us, and why He told us then, as He was heading off, ascending into heaven, well, off you go, lads. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what the story is now.
Continue the job.
Get out there and get in touch with these people, and keep getting in touch. So this is what the Pope is doing, going to places like Kazakhstan. This is what the Legion of Mary and the Church seeks to do as well, in sending missionaries off to Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and he ended up in Nepal. And today, that man Bernardo Dinardo is a priest in Armenia.
Oh, wow. That's
He
wonderful.
ended up being ordained for another rite in the church. It's just, my mind's blank, I can't think of it at the moment. And ministered for a time as a priest in Iran, of all
Right.
places.
Wow.
Extraordinary gifted with languages, most extraordinary. Like
Yes.
coming from Argentina, having learned English and Spanish, but then learned Russian and whatever other languages he had to
Oh my
learn along
gosh,
the way,
Clever lad.
and then ending up in Iran, and now ministering in Armenia.
Wonderful.
Extraordinary
That's wonderful.
story, absolutely amazing. And no end of challenges in places like Armenia, and next door to Azerbaijan, all these places that you'd never really hear of
No,
otherwise,
no,
and
my gosh.
countries again in need of hearing the gospel. Amazing. So the Pope, when he went to Kazakhstan, was expressing his gratitude to the President of the Republic and the other authorities of Kazakhstan for the cordial welcome they had given them. I mean, it was a big deal for the Pope to come to a country that otherwise probably doesn't make
Yes.
the headlines, or, you know.
Wonderful. Spreading the word, Father, isn't he? You know? People will take notice of him there and want to hear what he has to say, you know?
Sure. And a certain amount of listening to be done as well.
Yeah.
So the Pope, he praised the initiative of the Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions.
Yes. Unite them.
Yeah, and again, how otherwise can you hope to begin to preach the gospel unless you begin to sit down together? And, we should be slow to jump to be critical, to say it's a kind of a syncretism that's going on.
Yes.
Syncretism, where you just synchronize, you bring everything together,
Yes.
and you hear it as all the same, and you meet a kind of common denominator. And the Pope gets lambasted for that sort of thing. He just gets an awful lot of criticism for that. And I think it's a failure to understand what the mission is and what's
Yes.
going on there. He's not out to compromise our faith in Christ.
Oh, no.
I mean, that would be completely self-defeating. What would be the point of that?
No,
Just-
no. Well, I think he looks
Sure.
at people, everybody, as God's child,
Hmm.
and he wants them all to know about God
Sure.
and spread the word of Jesus gave.
And how else do you begin to do it? You sit down with each other, you put on the kettle, get out the scones, and you start a conversation. So that initiative, the Congress for the Leaders of the World and Traditional Religions, has been carried out for 20 years by the authorities of the country. I think that's Kazakhstan, presenting itself to the world as a place of meeting and dialogue, and in this case at the religious level. Kazakhstan seems to be moving in those directions, and is a leading player in promoting peace and human fraternity. So again, you can see the Pope doesn't have a kind of religious theme necessarily in mind, but a sense of fraternity and trying to build sort of channels of peace for people. So he's lauded its commitment to putting religions at the center of its efforts to build a world where we listen to each other and respect each other in diversity.
Yes.
So again, that not to be misunderstood as if, a kind of a live and let live type
No, no.
of, that's not what's at stake here. because when you're the bearer of the truth, you want to let that light shine,
Oh, yes.
but you can't impose it.
No.
You have to kind of bring each other together and work towards it in some way. I like to interpret this step forward, he says, as the fruit of a journey that has started from afar. I'm thinking, of course, of the historic interfaith meeting for peace convened by Pope St. John Paul II in Assisi in 1986. And again, he took the hit kind of at the time because he was there with, again, Buddhists and
Yes,
Hindus and so
yes.
on. And, you know, the Pope Francis saying, look, no, this is a journey that we're on, and trying to bring the light of Christ into these situations. He says, I'm also thinking of the far-sighted gaze of St. John the 23rd and St. Paul the 6th, and also of great souls of other religions. So, you know, great world figures. And he says, this is a quote, I limit myself to recalling Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh.
And, you know, it's no harm to mention these great figures of the
Yes,
past who,
yes.
again, had a share in the truth and were trying to be bearers of truth in their own way and within their own limitations, and to keep encouraging that too. So, just interesting times.
Wonderful, Father.
This is
Yes.
a kind of a new chapter, if you like, in the life of the church, kind of reaching out to literally to the ends of the
Yes.
earth.
And
all
everybody's
to
everybody's welcome into the church.
That's it. That's it. So good. So we'll continue to play our little part here in Radio Maria and sharing this good news with
You're
you.
doing
So
great work, Father.
thanks be to God. One day at a time, one program at a time. So that brings the end to our Chatechesis today. Thanks for your company and thanks for being part of Radio Maria here. Just coming up to 12 o'clock, we'll pause now for our Angelus and midday prayer.